What's up, y'all? It's Nate Almighty. And I'm here with a message for all men. That's including you if you're a man or if you happen to have a penis. Now, listen, they like to tell you in this day and age, in the current times we living in, that men need to be more sensitive, men need to be more in touch with their feminine. Now, although I do agree that there's a feminine and masculine energy, right, to everything, when it comes to crying, because they want us to get more emotional and cry. The women want us to do this, right? Uh, it seems like the world wants men to be more emotional and soft. They want you to cry and vent your feelings. I'm here to tell you guys, fuck that. Okay, that's a ton of malarkey. Okay, women don't want to see us cry. They think they want to see us cry because, like, their sons and the sons they want to have in the future, or they think that all of a man's problems are solved once they just cry and let it out, right? They think that emotionally it makes us better. It makes us feel better. It solves our problems. And what people, especially women, fail to understand is that we are not women, okay? Now, men, ask yourself this question. Out of all the times you cried in your life, think about the reasons why you cried, okay? And now ask yourself this question. How many times did you crying actually solve your problem? Probably 0 times. I'm 32 years old, even though I smoke a lot of weed and I've done tons of ecstasy and Molly in my past and drunk tons of alcohol, right? Right? And have had fights. And I've had, a big rock dropped on my head, right? That put a scar on my head and I passed out, right? I still don't remember ever crying and my problems being solved by crying. This is why I tell my son, right? Especially my oldest son who's a crybaby. When he whining and stuff like that, I'm like, hey, now that you're crying, did it solve any of your fucking problems? No, it probably didn't. So what I'm here to do is I'm here to explain to the men the only 5 times where it's acceptable for a man to cry. If you cry any other time than this, you're a bitch and you're not being a man, okay? So, number one, after your first or second heartbreak, you're allowed to cry, okay? After your first or second heartbreak, you're allowed to cry. I'm going to give you 1 to 3 good times. 1 to 3 good times. You're allowed to cry. Go ahead, let it out, okay? You're young. It's your first time dealing with these kinds of emotions. Every man has to go through it and knows what it's like to be that vulnerable, to decide ultimately in his right mind that it does him no use to be that vulnerable. I'm not saying don't ever fall in love again. I'm not saying become a terrorist amongst women and break every woman's heart just because you're scared to get hurt. I'm saying you'll know you should train yourself to manage your emotions, know the kind of women you're dealing with, that kind of stuff, right? That's number one. Number two, after achieving a big win like the NBA championship. But I'll give you an example, okay? Jordan. We all know how legendary it was when Jordan, after getting his ass kicked by the Pistons, right, and the Celtics for years, in his 7th year, he won his championship, and we have that legendary scene of him sweating crazy, but he's kissing the trophy, he's crying and stuff like that. That's a respectable man cry, He achieved a great feat that he worked his entire life towards. You have a right to cry, but you still got to cry like a man, right? None of the extra whining and that extra stuff. He cried like a man. And you didn't see him cry for any more championships. He got it out of his system, okay? Examples in real life about how your regular everyday man achieves a big accomplishment. He's allowed to cry. Okay, let's say you make partner, right? Boom. You can cry for that. You can shed a couple tears for that. You know what I'm saying? Don't cry like a woman. Cry like a man. Let the tears come down. Spend the whole entire time fighting it. Go like this. The things that we do to stop tears from coming out. I don't think it's toxic to be that way. I really don't. It's not. How is that making men worse? I don't see it. Control your emotions. Okay? A man whose emotions are not in check is very dangerous, okay? It's very dangerous, you know what I'm saying? Especially if he's angry and his emotions are not in check. Always got to keep your emotions in check, okay? But another example, you're in high school, okay? Y'all had a hard early season. Y'all was losing, y'all was getting thrashed. Or the entire last season, y'all was getting thrashed. This season, y'all good, or you work your way back up and not you make it to the championship, but you win the championship. You could cry. You could cry. You cry. You study real hard to pass your SATs. You pass your SATs. Go ahead, let a couple tears out. Go ahead, man. Major accomplishments. If you worked hard for a year or two to lose weight as a man and you got to your goal weight, go ahead and shed a couple tears, man. That's all right. That's okay, man. But it ain't that many other situations, man. They got to come after a great triumph. Now, number 3, right? It's acceptable for a man to cry when someone you love dies, okay? Every time someone I love dies, I shed a couple tears. I shed a couple tears. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man. When my man Derek, a.k.a. Snacks, a.k.a. Twin, you know what I'm saying, my day one from the hood I grew up in, right? When he got murdered a year and a half, going on 2 years ago, right? In cold blood, by the way. I put on a brave face around everybody else, but I ignored a lot of phone calls for a week. And I processed his death myself. You know, I found myself walking by myself in nature. I found myself thinking about it at random times. And I shed a couple tears, you know, and I went through the whole spiel of saying to myself, why I had to be you, you know what I'm saying? You was a good dude. You was a good brother. You didn't deserve that, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I went through that. I shed a couple tears on and off. I didn't cry hysterically. I ain't let nobody see me, all right? I don't care what nobody say. You're a man, okay? You need to look as manly as possible all the time because the entire world is trying to fight against your masculinity and wants you to be a shallow, a weaker version of who you can really be, right? To take away from the power you will really have. If you just decide to be stoic and control your emotions and think properly, right? And enrich yourself, right? That's number 3. Number 4, when your child is being born, okay? When your child is being born, now me, look. My kids were made out of wedlock. I wasn't with their mothers when they were born. I never had a baby shower. I wasn't there in the hospital the day they was born, right? One of them I didn't know. I didn't know he was mine at the time when he was being born, or I would have been there. And then the other one, I didn't believe he was mine, right? I'm making up excuses for myself. I'm just saying exactly what it was. Now, had I been there, I know for a fact I would have done some crying in there. I would have done some crying in that motherfucker. I would have. I would have. I definitely would have, right? I would have, just like I plan on being there for any other kids that I have. I plan on being in the hospital, right? I plan on being there. I'm going to hold my children and I'm going to shed them couple tears. I'm going to get it done. No, there's nothing wrong with a man crying while he's in the hospital with his woman and they bring a life into the world. And number 5, the most important rule of the only times a man can cry, or it should be that way, right? Because it will protect a man's vulnerability. And he won't be able to look weak in front of people who should view him as looking strong all the time, right? It's okay to show weakness, but nah, I disagree with that actually. You know what I'm saying? As a man, I don't think we're afforded that luxury. I think only women and children have that luxury. Unfortunately, whether it's wrong or right, whatever, I just don't think we have that luxury. But alone, cry alone. That's the number 5 reason. You know what I'm saying? I don't cry in front of people. Last time I cried in front of anyone, it was in front of my kids. I felt like I was overcome with emotion. It was a real emotional situation where it's like, you know, dealing with me seeing my kids or me wanting to have more time with my kids and I wasn't able to. You know what I mean? My son's mother was being an ass at the moment and I felt some type of way. You know, I live in South Carolina and I was in New York and I was trying to make the most of the situation. But it's probably not that many more times where I'm gonna let my kids see me that vulnerable. I'm gonna be vulnerable with my kids, of course, but I didn't need to. I'm telling them, don't cry all the time. Don't cry over unnecessary stuff. I have to show them what I'm saying. I can't just say it and not live it, right? But that was it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The only time it's cool for a man to cry. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.